What up, guys? I got another article for you today talking about the Batman sequel, and Matt Reeves is trying to figure out how to do a more grounded Mr. Freeze villain. Now, if anybody can pull off a grounded, realistic Mr. Freeze character, I think it can be Matt Reeves. Now, everybody knows about the original Mr. Freeze played by Arnold Schwarzenegger in that Joel Schumacher Batman movies, and it wasn't meant to be taken serious. It was very campy, very outrageous and exaggerated. But Joel Schumacher even said, I wanted to make the comic book cells or squares, whatever they're called, to literally jump out at you and be on the screen. And that's why it was kind of goofy. Schwarzenegger basically had multiple one-liners every sentence that he spoke in the movie. And now those movies are fun just to watch and laugh about it and point out all the funny moments and stuff like that. But basically, Matt Reeves is saying in this article that because his version of the Batman is in a more grounded reality, he's always trying to think of new characters and villains and how to ground them in his reality movie. That's why you have Matt Reeves' Riddler be more like the Zodiac Killer, because it was based on a realistic person that existed. So that's what he's trying to do, I guess, with Mr. Freeze. And the reason I'm excited about this is because out of all the characters, it'd be very interesting to see how you could pull off Mr. Freeze in a grounded, realistic movie environment. So Matt Reeves says, in my view, I just feel drawn to finding the grounded version of everything. So to me, it would be a challenge and an interesting way to try and figure out how that could happen. Even the idea of something like Mr. Freeze, that's such a great story, right? I think there's actually a grounded version of that story, which could be really powerful and could be really great. I also found an article further expanding on what else they said. Matt Reeves continues to say, so I love the fantastical side of Batman, but this iteration, meaning his more grounded reality movie, obviously, while being, to me, I think it is very comic faithful, doesn't lean as hard into the fantastical. But I think to me that would be interesting, would be to try and unwind the fantastical and see, well, how could that make sense here? Then you have Robert Pattinson putting in his 2 cents, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to do something like that, like the Court of Owls. There are elements of the Batman which are kind of horror, and I think it really feels quite new for Batman. And then he finally says, I'm down to do it as many times as possible. I'm down to do it as many times as people want to see it. I've talked to Matt about the idea of doing a trilogy, and that would be wonderful. I really enjoy the process, and it's such a fun character to play. And he also mentions in a separate article that he's even down to having a Robin character as long as he's very young, possibly 13. And he's like, if he ain't 13, I ain't doing it. So Robin is another character that's a little bit too goofy, but it would be very interesting to see if they can ground him. But that's basically the whole article. Let me know in the comments what you think about a more grounded Mr. Freeze, if it could work, or what other characters you would like to see in the Matt Reeves Batman trilogy movies. So thanks for watching. Until next time, see you next video.